and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Thursday, February 17th, Ian Cameron, Andrew McGinnis with you. Jimmy Murphy will be along momentarily as well. Alex B. Smith, under the weather a little bit. We'll see if he's able to join us or not, but a little under the weather. We'll see if he can make it. If not, that's the way it is. We do have someone that made it today with us on the show. It's our special guest. We welcome in Danny Ehrman. You can follow him on Twitter at DEhrman19. He's joining us, former pro hockey player living in Minnesota right now, and he's helping us to break down the Thursday NHL betting card, and it is a huge card, 10 games on tap, and we will get to them all. Danny, welcome to the Ice Guys. Glad you could join us, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure here. You know, typical Chicago guy living in Minnesota's got the stomach flu, can't make the air today. So what was his name again?
Alex B. Smith. Yeah,
Alex B. Smith, Chicago guy living in Minnesota, just can't cut it sometimes. But here I am, excited to be here. Can't wait to get going.
Alex getting called out here. That's not a good thing. Look out. I don't know if you heard that, Alex. Look out. Danny, just talk a little bit about, you playing pro hockey for many years. I know the Minnesota Wild. You were part of that organization for a little bit many years ago, different leagues or pro leagues, of course, during your time. So talk a little bit about your hockey playing background from years ago.
So I from Fargo, North Dakota originally. Went to the University of Minnesota, played 3 years there. I was drafted by the Minnesota Wild. I spent 4 years in the minors in the AHL down in Houston. I got 2 games with the Wild throughout those four years. A little bittersweet. I got my games. Wish I would have had more, but it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles and you move on. And then I spent 7 years over in Europe playing pro hockey. 1 year in Italy, 2 in Austria, 2 in Switzerland, and I ended in Germany. So I had quite a run. I've been retired for 4 or 5 years now, and I'm doing the real world medical sales and loving every day of it and try to watch as much hockey as I can on the side.
I got to ask you, Danny, there's a couple of things I wanted to run by you, but just non-betting related, I just wanted to ask you kind of the differences between North American hockey and playing over in Europe. I've got a buddy right now. He went undrafted. He's had some camps and stuff like that with the Senators and the Sabres. He's now playing over, I believe, in Denmark, and then he played in Slovakia at one point. What did you notice the biggest difference was in kind of the European style versus the American style that we probably wouldn't hear about?
Yeah, it's good hockey. One of my friends that played, 10 plus years in the NHL. When I went over there, he's European. He said, "Don't take any league lightly," and you can't. It's good hockey. Every league's got ex-AHL, ex-NHL. They can skate. They can skate. They move the puck. It's they don't dump the puck. It's not as system-wise. It's more related to me as college. It's run and gun, and it's make plays, and there is systems, but that's the way I would kind of describe it. Italy, I always tell people Italy was my first country I played in, and there's no checking in Italy unless you get checked from behind. So it's a lot of hits from behind in Italy, but it's definitely a fast-paced game. Ice is bigger, but man, there's some skilled players over there.
From a betting standpoint, I always say to people that, it's a 100% fact that players get up for some games more than others. I think that a lot of people would speak to, whether it's a big game, a rivalry, or different. I mean, there's an 82 game slate in the NHL. Obviously, some games are going to have more of an importance. But what kind of stuff would you say from a gambling perspective, from just your time playing, that you might know that some of us that haven't played would know?
100%. There's long days. There's games that you don't want to play that you're, oh man, I got to go out there and give my best effort, which you have to. You got to find a way. Those rivalry games, 100%. You're always ready for those. They're marked on your calendar. There's a guy you don't like on the other team, that's marked on your calendar. Maybe not so much a team rivalry, but a personal rivalry. Those are big games too, and you want to have your best game going. And even if those games where you're not going, the minute someone pisses you off, like all of a sudden the wires cross and you're ready to go and you're playing 10 times harder. So it's definitely true. It is a long season, and those big games do count more.
That's a great point. And you can tell Andrew's an intrepid reporter. He knows how to ask good questions. He's done some interviews in the past. You can tell. He knows how to ask the good questions. And there were a couple of good questions there, Andrew, for sure. And you're right about it. I've seen games where it's a big rivalry and there's not a whole lot going on with one team. For some reason, they're slow start. They're playing in their own zone. The other team's dictating the play. And then that team that's dictating the play, they go after one of the star players on that team. And, man, it wakes them up. And it's like, you don't do that, you motherfuckers. We're going to get you. And then all of a sudden they get going and they wake up. And all of a sudden they get to their game a little bit more. I find that I've seen that in NHL games, certainly, where a team's starting slow, but then maybe they target one, a top six forward on their team. And all of a sudden, that pisses them off and kind of wakes them up and gets them into the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at, was it Brad Marchand out of Boston? He's one of those guys that I played against him one year in the AHL, and obviously he didn't have the name back then he does now, but he's one of those guys the coach will say, leave him alone. Like, keep him quiet, let him sleep. The minute that he gets going, he gets fired up, his game rises to another level. If you like his antics or not, but he's one of those guys that plays with that fire. You almost just want to leave him alone. Don't make him mad. And hopefully he's not existent. He's such a good player. He's obviously always existent, but he gets fired up and his game goes up.
So he grew up just a few blocks up the road from where I grew up, Danny. And it's funny because he played for the junior team in Halifax as well. And if you would have saw the way he played in juniors, you never would have thought that he would turn into the player he was. Like, he was spearing people, like just running people, like just everything you could think of. Though, and now you see him like scoring some of the goals he scores and stuff. And one funny thing I was going to say about Marchand before you even brought his name up was you talked about getting up for games against certain players. I was at this charity event. It was for sheltered youth, and Marchand and Crosby and Nate, they all do a great job of going a lot of charity in Halifax and stuff. And so somebody asked, all right, Marshy, who's your least favorite player to play against? And it was the most left field answer ever. He said, honestly, I don't like to use the word hate, but I hate Thomas Plekanec. And it just threw us all. Everybody was like, where did that come from? We did not see that.
I remember some of those battles with the two of them.
Yeah. But
yeah.
It's just like those hidden rivalries that we might not even know about that exist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And Marchand Marchand was not an instantaneous when he first started playing in the NHL, an offensive dynamo or juggernaut. Like he's obviously become here in the NHL. That came in time. That developed with time for him to become kind of that offensive, dominant player that he's really been the last several years in the NHL. But credit to him, it was all working hard and improving at that end, that part of his game. And he definitely has been able to do that. Before we get into the Thursday card, Danny, and obviously now you place a few bets here and there. How did you get interested, at least in the betting standpoint of things?
Yeah, so Minnesota, it's illegal here, so I don't do it too much. I got some friends in Iowa that make some phone calls on things that I like. But for me, after hockey, I really didn't watch sports that much. I had young kids. I didn't have a lot going on, and watching
maybe a mental break too after years of playing.
Yeah,
right.
You throw $25 on a game, you're just way more into it, and you actually watch it way more. And I kind of started doing that a little bit here and there. And I don't like to place. If I do place a bet, in Iowa or whatever through friends, I don't like to do it unless I'm watching the game. For me, it's more entertainment, get in the game, get the blood flowing a little bit, have some fun with it. And then, the more you do it, the more you realize that you got to research what you're doing and you got to figure out what's actually going on, because it's tough. It's tough out there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Tell us about it, because it's a 24/7, 365 endeavor. You got to stay on top of injuries. You got to, make sure you're analyzing what kind of scheduling situations teams are involved in. You got to make sure you're kind of at least aware of what line combinations are, who's going up the lineup, who's going down. Certainly, if you're going to bet player props, I always say the best player props are the ones where you take the player that's going up the lineup into a top six forward role. They're going to get more ice time, more minutes. Maybe they get power play time. They're going to play with better players on their line, better opportunity for them to maybe score a point or score a goal or have more shots on goal. If you're going to look at player props, it's always important to know the line combination, certainly. So there's just so much you got to keep track of, stay on top of each and every day. You're right. It is a full-time endeavor, if you're going to bet hockey or any sport for that matter, every day. And with that in mind, we're going to try to bet this Thursday night card, and we've got a card to break down. So let's get to it. We will begin with one of the better matchups tonight for sure. The Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got Toronto here, -150 home favorites in this game. The total 6.5 across the board in this one. Some books still have 6, so make sure you shop around for the total, depending on whether you like over or you like the under in this game. Toronto returns from their West Coast sojourn. They played Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. Out west, they lost to the Canucks and the Flames. Of course, the Vancouver loss was basically the Thatcher Demko show. He was absolutely brilliant in that game. The Leafs had over 50 shots, but he stonewalled them, and the Canucks got the 3-2 win there. They bounced back against Seattle with a 6-2 win, pretty much taking care of business against the Kraken. I think a lot of us on the show, we were on Leafs team totals. We were on Leafs, in regulation. A lot of different bets backing Toronto against Seattle, that prime get right spot, get well spot after those 2 disappointing losses to Vancouver and Calgary. But now they return home off the road trip. What do you get from Pittsburgh? That was an emotional night. That was a obviously energetic night. It was a lot of emotion in the building. It was Sidney Crosby getting his 500th career goal in the victory against the Philadelphia Flyers, a victory that didn't look like it was going to happen at one point. In fact, there was a very noticeable lull in their play after Crosby got his 500th goal. They were a little bit flat for a period of time. They trailed 4-2 in the third period. But then they made it 4-3, and it's like it woke them up again. And then Pittsburgh just dominated Philly, and Philly did what the Flyers do. Cough up a lead, break down defensively. I have no idea what's happened to Provorov this year. It's a shell of the guy we've seen the last couple of years. That whole blue line's been disappointing, and they cough up the 4-2 lead. They end up losing in overtime on a Chris Letang overtime game-winning goal. So Pittsburgh, an emotional night. What do they have now in the tank coming back here in Toronto playing the Leafs? They've beaten the Leafs twice this year. They've done well head-to-head against Toronto. It's a tough game from a side perspective. I think the Leafs, I don't want to lay minus 150 against Pittsburgh. It's not so much that, Toronto can't win this game. It's that I don't want to necessarily lay minus 150 against Pittsburgh in the way they're playing right now. But, I don't necessarily trust Pittsburgh in this spot off a very big, emotional type of night on the Crosby 500th goal night, coming back to beat their rival, the Flyers. So I'm off the side in this game. I lean to the over slightly. It's 6. Jack Campbell's going to be in net, by the way, for Toronto. We know he hasn't been as sharp lately. The over has cashed, you guys, in 8 straight starts for Jack Campbell, believe it or not. It is a weird stat. It's because they've been scoring goals in bunches, the Leafs. Their offense, Mitch Marner is a shooting machine right now. Can't be stopped. Nylander's been good. Matthews keeps on doing his thing. They're getting depth scoring. They're getting contributions from all 4 lines, but their defensive play at times has been kind of up and down, the Leafs, and Jack Campbell's kind of come back to earth after a hot start. So 8 straight overs for Jack Campbell starts for the Leafs in his last 8 starts. They've been trending over recently as well, just in general. So for that reason, I will lean to the over here at 6.5 in this game. Let's go to Danny first, our special guest on this one. What do you think, Penguins and Leafs?
Yeah, I look at this game. I like the over too. It's like you said, betting against the Penguins is tough. I try to stay away from superstars. Betting against them. Toronto's a wagon this year. They got a chance to get to the Stanley Cup if they can get rid of that playoff jinx. I like the over. I think the Penguins are a veteran enough team where they know they might have got lucky in Philly and they didn't play their best. So I think Pittsburgh will come out with a better start, which makes me lean towards the over versus the Maple Leafs. So I'm with you guys on the over here. If you can get it at 6, that'd be a pretty darn good place.
And you can still get 6 at a couple spots. So make sure you shop around for that if you like the total here in this one. No confirmation, the last I checked, at least with the Pittsburgh. It's probably going to be Jari. I have no reason to doubt that it will be here. I think he'll be. Yeah, it is now confirmed, Jari, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And to be honest with you, if you look at Jari's numbers in the new year, 2022, he hasn't gone way down, but he's dropped just a little bit in terms of his level of play here so far in 2022. Andrew, what do you think, Pittsburgh, Toronto? We don't know what he thinks because I think he's muted.
I was going to say, good thing it's probably a good thing I was muted because I was taking some shots of the Leafs. But, as a Habs fan, I'm always having my fun with them. But in all seriousness, I think that looking at this price, I don't really understand how we can have the Maple Leafs as upwards of minus 150 and still growing against this Pittsburgh Penguins team that's proven to have more consistency, better defense, and right now, probably better goaltending as well. And not to mention, like Vito's talking about in the live YouTube chat right now, They're trying to avoid the season sweep. I mean, I just don't understand what Toronto has showed the odds makers against the Penguins here that gives them this price. If you look at the last 3 meetings between these two teams, Toronto has averaged 1.67 goals per game. I mean, there has to be something said about that. But having said that, I'm on the exact same page as you guys. I think that with Pittsburgh blowing with having that lead or blowing the lead and then coming back like the way they did against Philadelphia. And a great point by you, about that 500th goal for Sid that we all seem to be on, because I really do think they did look flat after that happened. But it's almost one of those things where I think that, and Danny could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but sometimes even after a win, you're not happy with the result, right? And you get the win, the W's next to the score sheet, but they know they didn't play their best game. So they're going to want to go out there and put forward a good effort too. And I think the same thing could go for the Maple Leafs. If we take a look, guys, at the games the Maple Leafs have played recently, who have they played of like really good competition that they've beat recently? They lost the Vancouver-Calgary, pairing there. Everybody and their mother were on against Seattle, so that's not really a tough one. We all had the team total or the money line or the puck line, but we saw them play the Islanders, Ducks, Detroit, the Devils twice. I mean, this is kind of a back to reality game here against a really good team, and I don't think they can keep it low scoring. So yeah, I'm on the over with you guys as well, and hopefully we can find a 6, but the 6.5s are definitely popping up here.
All right, liking the over as well. And a lean, it sounds like, for Andrew to Pittsburgh as well here in this one. And look, you're right. There's a little sisters of the poor element there. You're right with some of those recent victories for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't exactly played a great, beaten a lot of quality foes lately. There's no doubt.
Here's another thing to keep in mind too. So I played for the Minnesota Gophers. Tons of Minnesota kids played college hockey. Growing up, they always wanted to play for the Gophers. So when they came into our building, we got their best game every single night. How many Canadian kids wanted to play for the Maple Leafs growing up?
Yeah,
a ton. So you got the superstars coming from Pittsburgh.
Why does Crosby always play well in Toronto? Your point.
Good
exactly.
Point, yeah.
Exactly. So you're gonna get everyone's best game in Toronto 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and it's not just.
Would you say that against the smaller market teams, there might be like a little bit less motivation, like rolling into Arizona?
100%.
Like, yeah.
Yep. I mean, they all grew up watching the Maple Leafs on TV. They love the Maple Leafs, and you're going to get their best game 9 times out of 10, I think, when they show up in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. There's a bunch of those Penguins players, and Crosby's just one of many. You've seen them play well in Toronto. The Canadian-born players returning, and they want to put on a show. They want to play well. So, and Crosby, I know, has really haunted the Leafs in the past, especially over the years. So we'll see if he can bring that magic. Again, he's riding the high of that 500th goal the other night. We'll see if he can deliver another big performance and maybe a Penguin victory tonight in that one. We'll move on to the next game now. Detroit Red Wings, New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 190, home favorite, 6 the total, shaded to the under. The New York Rangers, we talked about maybe concerns early in their game against Boston on the Tuesday show, saying they had been off for 2 weeks, a long layoff. And actually, we'll get Danny's thoughts on this premise in general. Teams on a 1 week, 2 week layoff. Is it tough to play in those kind of games? And certainly for the Rangers, early in that game, they didn't start well, but they did finish strong. And by the time the third period came around against Boston, you could see they got to their game. They were in the offensive zone. They were cycling the puck well. They had the Bruins hemmed in, and they had their sea legs under them by the time the third period came around in that Boston game. It was their best period. They tied it up, and they ended up winning in a shootout 2-1 over the Bruins. Detroit coming off a 7-4 loss to Minnesota. Minnesota's going to do that to a lot of teams, though, is score a lot of goals, especially at the XL Energy Center. And they did that again on Monday night. Detroit's always capable of, surprising a good team every now and then. They did upset Pittsburgh, in a shootout before the break. So you can never discount them. This is probably going to end up being a pass for me, this game, from a betting standpoint. The under's been absolutely dominant in this series. 10 straight unders, and 20 of the last 26 meetings have gone under the total between the Red Wings and the Rangers. That's probably the way I would lean here. We know they've got firepower, the Rangers. Kreider, Zibanejad. They've had great seasons for this Rangers team, no question. They've got offense for sure, but their defensive game has been pretty solid, and obviously they've got an elite goaltender. Igor Shesterkin has certainly shown he's probably going to be the future in net for the New York Rangers. He's definitely a Vezina Trophy candidate, I think, if the season ended today. So this game could actually slide under the total, but that's just a lean. Other than that, I'll be passing on this one. Andrew, what do you think here, Red Wings and Rangers?
Yeah, I mean, there's such a big card today. There's so many different betting opportunities. This is one that definitely didn't really stick out to me right away. But the New York Rangers, if we take a look at some of their recent games, like I always tell you, I mean, for me with handicapping, I don't look towards a large scale. It's always recency. And I really do like the way they've played defense. You know, they've played that Florida Panthers team that we know is so talented, and they only gave up 2 goals. I mean, they're really protecting their own end of the ice. And I remember a couple months ago, had a little rant to you and Alex and Jimmy talking about how maybe the Rangers defense is overrated because they rely on Shesterkin a lot. And it seems to me right now, their defense has started to stay at home a little more, let the forwards do their job. And maybe that's because we're starting to see a lot more depth popping up with the Rangers, and it's not just the usual suspects getting involved. But I think I'd look towards the under in this game as well. I think we're going to see a good defensive game from both teams. And Detroit actually has some sneaky good goaltending. I think that you put some of their goaltenders on a better team, I guess, and a more experienced team, and we're talking about them a lot more. So I think this one could be a sneaky underplay.
Yeah, Alex Nedeljkovic is a talented goalie. It's not going to look like it because of his numbers and who he's playing for, Detroit. And they've struggled defensively, but a lot of these games, they've been bad at times in front of him, and especially the Minnesota game. You know, if you watch that on Monday night, they hung that poor guy out to dry. It was a terrible defensive game in front of him. He's a talented goalie, but look, he's seeing the problem we kind of thought he might see. You're not playing with Carolina anymore. And that terrific blue line, whether it's Jacob Slavin anchoring it, Brady Shea, D'Angelo's playing great. Brett Pesce's one of the more underrated defensemen in the league, in my opinion. You're not playing in front of that collective anymore. If you're Nedeljkovic, you're playing in front of a much weaker team, much weaker blue line now in Detroit. Danny, what are your thoughts here, Detroit, New York?
Yeah, so I was looking at this game, and I love the Rangers. I looked at Detroit's schedule here, and in my opinion, they've only beaten 2 good teams since January 2nd, Pittsburgh and Anaheim, if Anaheim's who we think they are. They beat Philadelphia, who I think they're done. Giroux's out of there. You won't get too many competitive games out of Philly, I think, moving forward. And the Rangers, I think that they know they got lucky beating Boston. So they got the win, but they know it wasn't where they killed Boston. They could have easily lost that game. I love the Rangers here. That minus 190 is scary, but I don't think Detroit's very good. Only 2 wins, two good teams since January 2nd. I'd be on the Rangers right here.
All right, Rangers minus 190, or you can go for the regulation on the Rangers, get a little bit of a better number. You can get them at minus 135 or so as well in terms of regulation price if you prefer the added value on that. All right, next up we've got, as we continue along, Washington and Philadelphia. The Capitals minus 180 road favorites, the total 6 here in this game. Man, I've been trying to shy away from backing Washington because I haven't liked what I've seen for the better part of the last couple weeks. But I got to give them some credit. They went into Nashville, and Nashville was a team that you would think was going to come out with something to prove. They had not won a game since the All-Star break, the Predators playing on home ice. And Washington just controlled the game, and they shut it down. They finally stayed out of the box, which has been a bit of an issue for them. And they beat Nashville 4-1 on the road. Another classic Alex Ovechkin goal in that game. And of course, he got the empty netter as well. But right from his office, right from his workshop, whatever you want to call it, the face-off circle, one-timer on the power play to beat UC Saros for the big goal that gave them a cushion in that game, 3-1. And now they go to Philadelphia, and this is just a sieve defensively right now. There's nothing else to say about Philadelphia right now in terms of their ability to defend or lack thereof. It's been abysmal what we've seen from the defensive end. They've got a goalie right now too, and of course, not only to make matters worse, their defense is struggling, breakdowns, bad penalty killing, the works, out of position constantly. There were 2 guys going into the corner to chase the Pittsburgh player on the tying goal the other night, leaving, I think it was Gensel all alone in front of the net. Just cardinal sin of defending in your own zone. And Philadelphia was victimized by that on the tying goal against Pittsburgh. Those are the kind of blunders they're making in their own zone right now. A penalty kill is horrific. They've given up 4 power play goals, you guys, in the last 3 games. 4. That's just not good enough. And if they give the Capitals power plays, look out, because the Capitals now have a power play goal in 5 of their last 7 games. So the power play has been good for Washington. Again, they still miss Oshie and Mantha. Both of those guys remain out for the Capitals, but I think they've still got enough offense in them to get past Philadelphia. There's a slew of bets that I'm interested in here because you got to think too, guys, the Flyers are crestfallen blowing that game. That was Sidney's big night. Not only did he get the 500th goal on us, but they came back and they won the damn game in overtime against us. That's a double whammy for the Flyers. It might be difficult for them to find their way back up off the mat following that kind of loss the other night. So I'm looking at Washington here, first period puck line at a nice plus price. Washington in regulation, which you can get definitely closer to even money here, around minus 115, minus 120. I'm on Washington team total over 3.5 here. Even money, and I'm on the full game over. So there's 4 bets on one game for me here. And sometimes I do that. When I really like a game, I hone in on it and I target it from different types of wagers. Team total over caps, first period puck line caps, regulation caps, and full game over. I still don't trust Washington's goaltending, and I think the Flyers have scored at least 2 goals in 7 straight games. So the Flyers are still finding their way to some offense. They're 7 of their last 8. They've scored 2 goals or at least in a game. And I think Washington, a bad penalty kill, a bad blue line, and our good friend in net, Martin Jones, who has been horrific. He's been absolutely awful the last few starts for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think he's given up 4 goals or more in like each of his last 2 or 3 starts. It definitely screams that there should be some goals tonight as well. So there you go. Caps puck line, first period, Caps regulation, Caps team total over 3.5, and the full game over for me. Danny, what do you think here? Caps and Flyers.
You know, the last time when Washington won 2 games in a row was?
It's been a while.
It's December 6th.
Yep. I know that. That's scary. It is scary.
I like the over. This could be a game where Philly comes out and plays good after the meltdown against Pittsburgh. Yeah, so that Washington not winning 2 in a row. I know eventually they're going to win 2 in a row. Maybe this gets their roll going. I like the over. If I had to place a bet on this, I think I'd go over. Just stick with that.
Yeah, that might be the safer play because, you're right about that Washington stat. Stringing good games together has been a big-time problem for them. But if you're going to bank on them doing that finally one time,
right, it's going to be
a good game and another, it's got to be tonight. This horrific, just spiraling out of control, going off a cliff, Philadelphia Flyers team. But we'll see if Washington can back it up and get it done. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we might have to get you a Capitals jersey in with all those wagers on the Capitals tonight.
I'll be burning all those jerseys if they lose.
Yeah. Well, I think kind of to what you said, Danny, about how like they might want to, bounce back the Flyers after that kind of collapse. I kind of look at it as like they were like, they could be like, damn, like we almost had it. And it was a good game for about 40 minutes, and then they blew it. I mean, that's got to be a little bit demoralizing. That's the way I see it. Like, it's got to be like, I mean, I'm sure they want to bounce back. Everybody wants to bounce back, but it's got to be kind of gut-wrenching to be like, we almost beat our rivals on the road after we're playing such bad hockey, and then we go ahead and blow that, allow 2 goals in a span of a minute, and lose the game in overtime. So, I mean, you said it earlier about the Flyers. They're a team that we want to fade, and the problem is the price here. I think I like the puck line. That stat you mentioned, though, I honestly didn't know that about the back-to-back. So now you kind of got me live on the show a little worried here. But I think the Capitals are due to get going. I mean, they've been the definition of inconsistent over the past 10 to 15 games. You look back to how they started the season in October, it's definitely been a lot different of hockey than they're playing right now. And you can't blame it on just a couple players being out or a couple COVID protocol stuff. So I'll tell you what, guys, I'm disappointed because that game against Nashville, I pretty much went back and forth the night before that game, whether I liked the over or whether I liked the Capitals as an underdog. And unfortunately, I went with the over there. The Capitals win, but the over doesn't hit for me. So I'm going to go ahead with the puck line play here. Or excuse me, actually, the team total was minus 112 is what I locked in. I think the puck line could be a good play, better than the minus 180. But based off, all the stuff in Philadelphia, and maybe they do bounce back and build on what they did against Pittsburgh. I like this kind of spot here for a team total because you don't have to worry about what the other team does. It's just, hey, I need my team to score 4, and Philadelphia can do what they want to do.
Yeah, and that is a theme, Danny, we've talked about a lot on this show, where the great thing about betting a team total is that you can totally forget about worrying about Philly, scoring or not scoring against Washington. You just bet on, hey, Washington can get 4 goals against a team that can't defend right now, and Martin Jones, who can't stop a beach ball on some nights, and trust them to get 4 goals. And that's the beauty of the team total. Not have to sweat, say, a minus 180. It's always that decision.
Yeah.
Why lay minus 180 with money line Washington when you can take Washington team total over 3.5 at around even money plus 105? A much, much better price, much better option. I forgot to ask Danny about this on the Ranger game. Your thoughts, playing background on 2-week layoffs or 1-week layoffs, basically not playing for that long a period of time, 1 week or 2 weeks. Is it the negative that I think it is?
Yeah, I had a coach that always said rest equals rust, and it does. That first game's tough. There's no way you can get ready for it. You can't. I'd rather take a team that's played 2 or 3 games in a week versus a team that hasn't played in a week. They're just going to be more sharp, and I think the Rangers. That's why we saw what they looked like that first half of that game, and that's why I really like them today. I think that second game they're going to be way more sharp and ready to go.
Yep. There you go. Right there. He says it right there. 1 week, 2 week layoffs. They're worse than, say, a team that's on a back-to-back or third game in 4 nights. All right. Ottawa, Buffalo. We've got Buffalo minus 125 home favorites, 6 the total. I was actually close to playing Buffalo in this game. I like what I'm seeing from this group. They've got actually a top line that can't be stopped at the moment. Jeff Skinner for the Buffalo Sabres, Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck. The top line for the Buffalo Sabres has been magnificent for them of late. Tage Thompson's developing into one hell of a center for Buffalo. I've been impressed with his game. Alex Tuck's given them a big shot of adrenaline and production offensively. No question about that. That line's got it humming right now. Tuck's producing. Tage Thompson, especially at home. By the way, these guys for shots on goal props tonight, consider all 3 of them, especially Thompson. Thompson at home. And it was DJ Mitchell. We're going to have him on the show on Saturday that pointed this out, and he's a Sabre fan. This guy is a shooting machine at home for some reason, Thompson. He just shoots the puck a lot when they play in Buffalo. 5 shots on goal the other night against the Islanders. He had 4 in a home game against Philly, 4 in a home game against Dallas, 5 in a home game against Detroit. So Tage Thompson shots on goal, absolutely at home. It's a good bet right now with what he's doing, centering that line with Tuck and Skinner. Right now. Look at Tuck's numbers. He scored a goal 3 of the last 4 games. He's got 7 points in the last 4 games. Thompson has 4 points in the last 3 games, goals in back-to-back games. And Jeff Skinner, the 4-goal performance against Montreal with 5 points in that game, and he has 6 points in the last 3 games. So Buffalo's got that top line cooking right now, and they might cook tonight because Ottawa, without Thomas Chabot, they're weaker defensively. We saw that hands down against St. Louis. Couldn't stop the Blues. Blues got 5 goals there. They're much weaker on the blue line. Plus, of course, they've still got Drake Batherson and Josh Norris out up front as well. So this is a shorthanded Ottawa group right now. And Matt Murray out. He left the game against St. Louis due to injury. Anton Forsberg is not available due to an illness tonight, under the weather. So they've got to call up and likely start. Hasn't been confirmed, but I would expect Philip Gustafsson called up from the AHL to start tonight. I think this screams Buffalo's got a good chance to win, but I'm going to go Sabres team total in this one, over 3.5. Another good number at a plus price. Sprinkle it as well. Split it with the full game over as well in this game. 6 in this one, because the one thing about Buffalo, they can still give up goals, and I'm not totally sold on Craig Anderson in between the pipes for them. I think Ottawa still, even with some of the absences, we've seen Connor Brown, we've seen Timmy Stützle step up. They've still got guys that can put the puck in. So I think the full game overall bet, but I think I like the Sabres team total even more at 3.5 here. I think they've got a good chance to get 4 goals. I like the way they're coming along offensively. They're scoring right now. That definitely can't be denied. Danny, we'll go to you on this one. Ottawa, Buffalo.
Here you go again with my my little themes going on with teams. Buffalo has not won 3 games in a row all year long. Scares me. The kid gets called up from the AHL.
That's why I bet the team total, not the money line. Yeah.
Whenever a goalie gets called up from the minors, to expect to see Ottawa's best performance to give him a good chance to win. It's just human nature. I didn't know all the guys were out. That scares me. I was on Ottawa before you were naming everybody out. The Sabres favorite. I don't know. They haven't won 3 all year long. I would stay away from this. the 3.5 goals by Buffalo. I like that bet by you. But again, they have not won 3 games all year long. I know it can happen, should happen, but I like to look at what's the word? Not themes, but sequences of things that happen and why they happen, and the odds. So I would stay away from this one, but don't mind Buffalo over 3.5.
Yeah, exactly. We can get an Ottawa win and maybe 5-4, and I'll still be happy because the game will go over the total and Buffalo team total over cash. Because those are the 2 bets for me: full game over, Buffalo team total over. I don't give 2 shits if Buffalo wins the game, to be quite honest with you. Not one bit. So that's what I'm hoping for here tonight. And Ottawa's still feisty, and you're right about that's another reason why I'm not on the Sabres money line. They are favored here, and that's been rarefied air this year for the Buffalo Sabres being a favorite. You got to lay a price with the Buffalo Sabres. That's not an easy thing to wrap your head around. I totally get that. Andrew, what do you think here? Senators, Sabres. Man, you're muted again. What's the matter today? You never have yourself muted.
Sorry, I never do that. Just want I'm laughing. I get a kick out of you guys, or I'm smiling, or doing whatever, taking a drink. I don't want to make any noise. But anyway, look, I always joke around with you, Ian, and would say that in college with intramurals, or back when I played high school sports, we used to call this game the toilet bowl. The 2 crappy teams in the bottom of the league. But guess what? You always get up for these games because you don't want to be the worst. I mean, you don't want to be that. You guys already know you're kind of at the bottom of the league-ish, so you don't want to be that bottom of the bottom. The fact of the matter is, though, the Sabres minus 125, like you said, is that something we want to talk about? And then you talk about the stat you just mentioned, Danny, with the 3 straight games. Hearing that just be said out loud is something that I don't really want to look towards either. And the funny thing is, the Buffalo Sabres are a team that I think we'd all agree that they're a team you want to bet on as an underdog. I mean, they were plus 170 against the New York Islanders, and they won by 3 goals. They were minus 115 against the Montreal Canadiens, and now they're a bigger favorite today than they were against the Montreal Canadiens. Even without some key guys for Ottawa, I think Ottawa gives them a better puncher's chance here. But rallying around the younger goaltender, I think that we'll see even a bounce back performance from Anderson. I actually think this one's a sneaky under. I think we'll see a lower scoring game in this one. So I hope you get your team total, Ian. But I think under 6 is the play here.
All right, liking the under here. They might.
Last time they played, Ottawa won 5-0. So I know they're missing guys, but
yeah, Ottawa has done well against Buffalo, I think, in recent meetings. There's no question. And you're right. There is that element. Danny pointed it out. They rally around Gustafsson. He's going to get the start. Dig in defensively. Just give him an easier night, right? Make sure he sees the shot. Make sure you clear out the rebounds in front of the net. Make sure you clear out traffic and the opposing defenseman in front of the net. Give this guy a puncher's chance to have a good night and a good performance and maybe a win. So you could see that.
You could also argue that Buffalo's got some confidence right now playing against back-to-back teams that are just struggling. My Canadiens plus the Islanders that couldn't score on us in net. I mean, I don't know. I think that they've got some confidence. Now they play an Ottawa team a little bit beat up. We always talk about strength of schedule and whether if you're feeling too good about yourselves coming into a game. I think that the Islanders aren't who we thought they were. I've officially, dropped
they're much
them.
worse defensively too than they've been in years past. Like Buffalo was doing a tap dance all over them in that game the other night. They hung a 6 spot. Well, 2 of them were empty net, but still they got 4 goals against that's Buffalo doing that.
So how much credit do we give Buffalo for those 6 goals though? Because the Islanders just aren't who I thought they were going to be this year. So I don't know how impressed I can be off that. So I think that they'll get a little more shut down against Ottawa.
And Johnny X, my bad. They did start 3-0, but since then they haven't.
I know. Be nice to our special guest.
Sorry,
Don't be calling them
he
out.
Went way back. He's cross-referencing.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, the season didn't start for everybody till then, so everyone else is sleeping, Johnny.
But you are right, John X. You are accurate. It is correct.
This is what we deal with, Danny. If we say one wrong fact, man, they're on us.
They're on us. These guys know their hockey in our chat, the viewers and listeners of this show, but that's why we love them. But yeah, they did start the season 3-0, but that's the only time they've won 3 in a row this year. So just get a correction on that. All right, St. Louis, Montreal. We got the Blues minus 270, road favorites, total 6. This is, Tommy totals, Tommy team totals. That's the nickname I usually use for when I'm on a certain theme for a certain card. That's me tonight. Ian team totals. This is another one for me with the St. Louis Blues. We're going to Team Totalsville here, over 3.5 on St. Louis. You got to lay a number here about -145, -150, but they should get to 4 goals. This team is definitely feeling good offensively. Jake Hahn was on our show Saturday. He said it. I've said it a bunch of times. This is the deepest Blues team offensively we've seen in years. Like, they can really come after you in waves with what they can throw out there on the ice. Craig Berube can mix and match his top 3 lines and still get production, because Shan O'Reilly and Kyrou on the top line, they can score. Buchnevich, Thomas, and Tarasenko on the second line, they can score. Saad, Barbashev, close shave Barbashev, and David Perron on that third line, they can find some offense for you as well. And they're all capable of lighting the lamp. So this is a 9-deep forward group for the St. Louis Blues, and they are definitely showing it. Their power play is second in the league. That would surprise a lot of people, but they are a tough team to stop. And look, for Marty St. Louis, it's going to take time, and they're going to be patient with him. Remember, this is a new gig for him. He's never coached at the pro level before. I think they're going to give him some time. They know the situation is pretty bleak. It's a team that's just been decimated this year. Goaltending that you're down to third and fourth string goalies that probably aren't NHL ready right now, Montembeault and Primo. I mean, it is what it is right now, and they're going to let them work through it. But they gave up a 5 spot to Buffalo, 5 to Washington. They did play one solid defensive game against Columbus, lost 2-1. Other than that, though, they've had their tough time shutting teams down. This is probably over the full game, I would lean, because Montreal could chip in, although it may be difficult. Husso's been great, and Billy Husso has been confirmed as the goalie tonight for St. Louis. I feel more comfortable with the Blues team total here tonight, over 3.5 in this one. Andrew, Blues and Canadiens.
The mic is on. It is not muted. I am wash, rinse, repeat with the over 6 in Montreal Canadian games. One thing that's been bad about taking these is the chances are it's because my Montreal Canadiens are getting blown out in all of these. The good news is I've been taking advantage of these games, at least. If my Habs are going to lose, I want to make some money off it. And I've been playing overs with this team. They're giving up goals left and right. Unfortunately, Martin St. Louis isn't going to come in and play goaltender and play forward for this team either. So I don't think much is going to change, especially when this dangerous, high-powered offense comes to town. Honestly, guys, I think that if we're talking from a strict value standpoint, looking at St. Louis to win the West or even win the Stanley Cup right now, the odds are just bigger than they should be, I guess I would say. So, I'm not saying they're a shoo-in for a huge run or anything like that, but if we're talking from a strict value standpoint right now, there's no point in betting on a team like Colorado. You kind of lost some value on that. You might as well just bet them on the series or to win their games. But St. Louis has impressed me, the depth that team has. And if they can figure out a consistent goaltender and kind of announce who the number 1 is going to be and stuff, I think that they're a dangerous, dangerous team, especially with that great power play they have. So I'm on the over 6 in this game. I think that the youth from Montreal will show up a little bit. They've pretty much announced the rebuild. Nick Suzuki, he gave a pretty, and he's pretty good with the media usually, but he pretty much just said losing to Foley has pretty much told us this is the rebuild. And it's not going to be a long rebuild, really. They've got great prospects and still some great players, but I feel like once that's announced, there might be some pressure off these guys, and it's just like, what is there to lose? I mean, there's been nothing really to lose for the past couple of weeks for these guys right now, but this should be a sloppy hockey game with plenty of goals. I really like the over 6 here.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'll have a smaller play over 6 as well, because I've been riding Montreal overs every game. I mean, I had it in the Buffalo game on Super Bowl Sunday, many of them before that. The only concern that I have with the full game over is what will Montreal do against a red-hot goalie in Billy Husso tonight? That's the only little fly in the ointment I have, because he's been great. But maybe on home ice they can chip in. Maybe you get St. Louis a little lethargic defensively, too. They're playing lowly Montreal, and maybe that can allow the Canadiens to chip in. Danny, what are your thoughts on this one, St. Louis, Montreal?
St. Louis's last 5 games, they got 3 wins. All 3 wins were by 3 or more goals. If you can get that puck line to 2.5, go for it. See what happens. I do love the over here. Martin St. Louis came in and from what I heard, he made the comments that he's going to let the guys go. He's going to let them play. That tells me more goals against, more goals for. So I like that. Pay attention to the Montreal Canadiens. I'm not that market up there, but they start calling up guys from the AHL. Start trying to hammer them. Those guys come up and they are going to be busting their balls, and they'll get some sneaky wins here and there. They're trying to make the team next year. They're trying to prove themselves. So when that starts to happen in the rebuild, you'll get some sneaky wins out of them. But I like the over here. The Blues, they've been winning by 3 or 4 goals. So move that puck line as far as you can and see what happens.
I wanted just real quick, Ian. I wanted to mention, because I had a friend that was saying the exact same thing. I was telling Ian the other day, Danny, about a friend of mine that's just a huge basketball fan, doesn't bet any hockey. And I told him he's like, man, your Canadiens suck this year. I'm like, yeah, but if you bet the over, you'll enjoy the games. So he started just doing it on nights when even I wasn't doing it. And then to your point, which is something that I never do, and people kind of think it's kind of funny in a stretch if you bet these alternative spreads. I'm pulling it up right now, but if you can look at some of these spreads, the alternative numbers, the -2.5 is +170 for the Blues. And like some of the games that Montreal has lost, if you took that alternative puck line against the Sabres win 5-3. Against the Capitals, 5-2. Devils, Canadiens lost 7-1. Blue Jackets again, 6-3. Edmonton, 7-2. It's not like this team is losing but many goals by 1 or 2 goals. Right. Where when they lose games, they're getting blown out. And,
something to look at.
And by the way, that's Danny puck line, not Jimmy. This Danny puck line with this one. Jimmy Murphy bets a lot of puck lines when he joins us on the show, Danny. So we call him Jimmy Puck Line. I think he gave himself that name, Jimmy Puck Line. So Danny puck line here. Danny alternative puck line, -2.5, +160, +165. -1.5 on St. Louis is just -115. So you definitely get a better bang for your buck. Going
MDR24 says Blues -3.5 +425.
Why not? Take it. That one's stretching it a bit, because I think the parameters are they've won by at least 3 or more in recent games in every win. But if you want to take that shot at +425, they can win by 4 or more. Go for it. It's definitely potential. We'll see how it goes there. All right, Boston Bruins, New York Islanders, even money, -110 both sides, 5.5 the total in this one. So initially, this was a pass for me. I was not interested in this game one bit. Then I started thinking about it more, and I looked at these numbers for the Islanders. They not only lost to the Sabres the other night, they deserved to lose. Buffalo was by far the better squad that night, and it wasn't even close, really. They were the much better team. They dominated the game. They carried the play, and that's the Buffalo Sabres doing that to the New York Islanders. I look at this as a situation where this team is almost a rudderless ship at this point. They've had some disastrous losses that you can't have if you're trying to get back into the playoff picture, like losing to Buffalo the other night, like losing to Seattle and getting shut out 3-0 right before the All-Star break. And then you look at the Bruins situation. Yeah, they've been struggling, but they gave the Rangers a battle. They couldn't score a lot the last few games. It's been hard for them to score goals, but they get the captain, the heartbeat of the team, one of the heartbeats of the team back tonight. Patrice Bergeron is coming back for the Bruins. I think this is the spot for Boston to step up and win against just an absolutely flatlining New York Islanders team. So I went from off the game to making a case for Boston here, -110 at even money in this one. And great timing, our Bruins man, reporting on the Bruins, of course, year-round, Jimmy Murphy joining us here on the Ice Guys. Jimmy, welcome in. Am I crazy? I think this is a Boston spot. Are you in agreement?
I am. I definitely like this. And anytime you get Patrice Bergeron back in the lineup, that's going to give you a jolt for sure and kind of help things fall back into place. Obviously, still no Brad Marchand as he appeals his suspension. But look, I think they have a good chance to carry over what they were doing against the Rangers. And let's face it, guys. I mean, that was anyone's game for the taking there. I thought the Bruins were just as good as the Rangers there, and it just came down to one more save for the Rangers to make. And I think the Bruins can definitely build off that. They've played much better and soundly defensively since getting shellacked by Carolina a week ago tonight. So I think there's a great spot for them. And the Islanders, man, like you said, they are spiraling right now, and very interested to see when they put the for sale sign up. As far as the NHL trade market goes, I don't know if Lou Lamoriello is really willing to do that because he's very stubborn, but same time, he's got to start thinking of the future because this team has no future in this season.
Yeah, it's what tweaks does he make? I mean, you're right. This has been a team that's been to the conference finals a couple of years in a row, and you're seeing this disappointing season, likely not going to be playoff bound. What do you do? And you're right. You said it on our betcast on Tuesday night, Jimmy. This guy, you got to basically twist his arm to sell off and give up on a season. That's not the Lou Lamoriello way. He's in it to win it every single year. He fights to the death, to the end, to keep the playoff hopes or the championship hopes alive. It's not easy for him to ever make that decision. He never has made that decision to sell and really blow something up, even with the Devils all those years, the Leafs even. He was always trying to compete and contend. Same with the Islanders. So very interesting times right now with what the management and Sweet Lou of the New York Islanders decides to do. Danny, what are your thoughts here, Bruins Islanders?
Yeah, love Boston here. Love it at -110. Islanders are 18 points back. That mountain's getting too tall to climb. They're going to give their best effort with Lou looking from the press box. But I watched that Boston Rangers game. The Rangers are a very good team. Boston, I thought outplayed them most of the game. They deserved, like Jimmy said, one shot. But I love Boston here. I really do.
Yeah, let's not forget some
Danny?
of the.
Nice to meet you there.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny's done a great job. Hell of a job as his first time as a special guest here on our show. Absolutely.
When did you play with? I was listening earlier, guys, as I was finishing up a story. When did you play with the Gophers?
I was with the Gophers 04, 05, and 06. So I came in after the back-to-back national titles.
Oh, okay. So Kessel was gone by then, or was he there?
Nope, I played 1 year with Kessel. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Feel the thrill.
Feel the thrill.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame, I call him. Yeah.
Sorry, what's that, Jimmy?
I said, did he like the hot dogs back then, or what?
Oh no, he was Phil's a great guy, man. He's a great guy. He gets a funny rap in the media, but he's one hell of a teammate and competes his ass off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm worried about his back posture.
This is a hell of a player too.
I'm worried about his back posture as he gets older. When he's on that bench, he's always hunched over like that, and really hunched over, and it's really bad. I'm like, and I'm not one to talk. I have bad posture too. I'm hunched over a lot too.
The last thing I expected to hear on this show was Ian worried about an NHL player's back posture.
Because I'm
I've heard
worried
it all.
about that. Because
Ian is an empathetic man. That's what it is.
I'm always very empathetic, especially when I've got back pain at 36, which is pissing me off. It's not something
wait till you
I'm
hit
proud
47,
of.
bud.
Yeah, that's not fun. Not fun. All right, Andrew, Bruins Islanders.
Jeez, you guys are giving me so much to look forward to when I get older, like you guys. Jeez. Look,
you enjoy your 20s, my friend. You've got a long way to go before you reach our marks.
Look, I said a couple days ago on the show that a new segment I've been doing is the buy and sell, and the Bruins were on my sell this week, and some people were kind of surprised. But I often say that for the majority of teams, a couple players in hockey being out isn't the biggest thing in the world. I've said it for New Jersey. When you miss Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier, that's a factor to me. When the Bruins are already having a depth scoring problem, you take out Marchand and then you take out the captain, Patrice Bergeron. I think that's huge for them. It hurt them. And in that game against the Rangers hadn't played in a long time. The Bruins were desperate for a win. Sadly didn't go on the under because after that, I kind of realized that was probably the spot play there. But I believe it's a spark here. And this, for me, isn't even as much of a bet on spot for the Bruins as it is for what all three of you guys just said, a fade towards this Islanders team. I believe this is incredibly disrespectful to the Boston Bruins that this is a -110 here. I have jumped off the wagon of the New York Islanders that I have been on for the past year and a half with them in the playoffs or finding them with them in regulation when they're big favorites. They aren't what I thought they were, and it's all about production, game in, game out, consistency. Getting your captain back is huge. We're not just getting a goal scorer back, we're getting a captain back, and I think they'll go out and win this game tonight. And to your guys' point, although it's only one goal scored, I thought it was a pretty good game for the Bees against the Rangers. And at a pick-em price, I'll take the Bees.
All right, there we go. Liking Boston as well. Andrew, we know you got to run. So we'll quickly, the last remaining games, what do you got?
Well, as far as let me go down the list here. Do you want to just rattle them off to me? And I don't have the
okay, yeah, absolutely. Seattle, Winnipeg.
Seattle, Winnipeg. I'm going under the total there.
Columbus, Chicago.
Pass.
Anaheim, Edmonton.
Anaheim, Edmonton. It's I actually liked the under in that game because I said this earlier today to somebody. I think there's kind of a goaltending issue right now in Anaheim, which I never thought I would say with Stolarz and Gibson. but I think they'll bounce back. And Edmonton has really fallen into being a better defensive team under the new head coach. And I think that if they can play games, and we talked about it with Jimmy when I'm always trying to ask him a little bit with the media stuff. And when Leon Draisaitl answered a question from a media member and said, do you guys think we want to play these high scoring games? And, he looked at the reporters like, I don't want to do this. If they can, win games off only scoring 4 goals, that's great stuff for them. And I think that they're playing a lot better defensively. So I do like the under in that game.
And the last game, Vancouver, San Jose.
I have nothing in that game. And my best bet is the over 6 in St. Louis and Montreal tonight.
There he is, Andrew McGinnis. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Good luck
Thanks a lot,
tonight.
guys.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Take care.
There he is, Andrew McGinnis. All right, we'll move on. Jimmy, Danny, and I got 4 games left. We'll try to speed this up. Seattle, Winnipeg. We've got Winnipeg minus 140, home favorite, 6 the total. I'm not betting the Jets game tonight. I'm not doing it. This team's too erratic at the moment to trust. I find they elevate their game against really good teams. They've beaten St. Louis, Minnesota twice now the last few weeks. Yet we've also seen them, lose to Philadelphia, lose to Chicago, and now it's a back-to-back. And I think Eric Comrie might start in net tonight for the Winnipeg Jets on the back-to-back as well. So keep an eye on that. It'll be Grubauer for Seattle. Seattle's been tough on the road, too. It's actually maybe not a bad thing they're going on the road, the Kraken, because I remember that last road trip. They won in Anaheim. And on the road trip, they beat the Islanders. They nearly beat Boston. They nearly beat the New York Rangers. And they beat Pittsburgh in overtime. This Seattle team, they actually seem to play more compact defensive game and a better team game on the road lately, Seattle. I think it's a dangerous spot for Winnipeg after a huge win against Minnesota last night. And they've had this consistent repeated pattern of failing to play good in 2 games in a row. So I'm not betting the game. I'm off it completely, but I'm not really rushing to lay $140 with Winnipeg tonight in this spot. Danny, what do you think? Kraken Jets.
Yeah, I saw that you liked Minnesota over Winnipeg yesterday. I didn't get to see the game. I stayed away from that game just because that was Winnipeg's first game having fans in the building, and man, does that make a difference. They've been playing with nobody in their building, and it sucks. I'd stay away from this game, but if I had to, I like Winnipeg again at home back-to-back with fans in the stands. We might be seeing the real Winnipeg with home fans.
Yeah, exactly. And you're certainly getting a cheaper price than maybe you would think. This is Winnipeg at home. They're only minus 140 now and the money's come in on Seattle, by the way. This line opened at minus 180 for Winnipeg. It's down to minus 140. So there's a lot of Seattle money coming in. Obviously, the spot is part of it, but now you're getting definitely, if you like Winnipeg, you're getting a discount now. No question. Jimmy, what do you think?
Look, I'm going to give in. I'm with you, Ian, though. I'm very cautious to do this. I've been waiting for the Jets to just kind of get that groove going and turn it around because I like that team a lot. But their defense has just struggled so much. That's why I got 2 things on this. I am going to take the Jets. I think they continue this. I'm just going to make it a strict money line, even though there's not much value there. I don't trust them, though, to get more than a 1-goal win in this, but I love the over because, like I said, their defense is struggling, but their offense is starting to pick it up right now. So give me the Jets money line and the over.
Scheifele to score a point, Scheifele to score a goal. How do you not like that right now? I mean, unbelievable since the break. How about 7 goals and 11 points in 5 games? 5 games, and he's got 7 goals and 11 points for the Winnipeg Jets since the break. Mark Scheifele has got it rolling right now. I might even jump on a goal scorer prop for him tonight as well as to score a point. He's feeling it right now for the Jets. Columbus, Chicago. We've got Chicago minus 130 home favorite, 6 the total. 2 teams playing for exercise, as I like to say, 2 teams that are not going to be going to the playoffs. I think we see goals here too. I mean, Columbus has been an over machine. Good enough scoring. I mean, with Patrick Laine has been good lately. Bjorkstrand's been solid. Boone Jenner, Gus Nyquist, the veteran forward, has chipped in some offense lately for the Jackets as well. Tessier's capable. They've got some offensive difference makers, and they can score a little bit, but they can't keep the puck out of their own net most nights. That continues to be the problem. Defense is porous. Penalty killing's not good. Merzlikins has kind of struggled in between the pipes, although some of that they've let him hang out to dry. I think Chicago's offense is difficult to trust, but I think they could find some goals here after playing some tougher teams, better defenses lately. And on the flip side for the Blackhawks, they've got Arvid Soderblom starting in net tonight for the Blackhawks, giving Fleury a rest, and obviously Lankinen not available. And Soderblom hasn't played since January the 2nd. He gave up 4 goals on 41 shots and a 5-1 loss to Calgary in that game. Soderblom is one start in NHL duty, and it's not been great. So Columbus should score. Chicago, I think, can find the back of the net over for me. Jimmy, what do you think? Columbus, Chicago.
Yeah, this game's a pass for me, but if I was going to do it, might be something I jump in live if I can do it while I'm at the Blues Canadiens game here in Montreal. But it's a pass for me. But if I was going to touch it, I would look at the over both in the first period and the total there. I mean, these two teams can definitely let up a lot of goals. Sometimes they can't really score them, but they always let them up. So we'll see.
Yeah, you just hope they can find their way to goals tonight for sure. And Jimmy, by the way, Danny is one of the hardest working reporters going. He's been covering the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins for the 2 websites he's part of, because they're still looking for a writer for the Montreal team. So.
Actually, Ian, I think I can't say the name, but I think we found one today. So I'm going to meet with them tomorrow. Hopefully we nail it down.
All right, good stuff, because you need a break, my friend. Exactly.
I do.
Danny, what do you think?
I don't mind being here, though. That's a great city.
Oh, it is. Wonderful. Yeah. Columbus, Chicago. Danny, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I stay away from this one too. I don't know how Chicago's favored. Kind of scares me the fact they are favored. I hate betting against Chicago at the same time when Fleury's in net. You got Kane, Fleury, Taves. I just don't. Even when Chicago's a big underdog, I stay away because you got Hall of Famers on the team. You never know what can happen. If I had to do it, I would take the plus 115 on Columbus. But every time I bet against Chicago, I eat it, so I'm staying away.
All right. Sometimes the best decision is to pass. No question about that. All right. Anaheim, Edmonton. Edmonton minus 230, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. So I've bet Edmonton every game since the coaching change, and I don't do this. I'm not one of those people that need. And we're going to get Danny's thoughts on coaching changes, whether it's the spark and the lift that we all think it is. I don't think it is for every single team. Look at Philly. Has Mike Yeo been a big lift for them? No. It hasn't been. Marty St. Louis with Montreal. They still haven't won yet, since Marty St. Louis has been there. So you got to treat every coaching change differently. You can't just paint it all with one brush with the same stroke, right? You can't just say they're all going to be, all of a sudden, these teams that make a coaching change, they're going to go on a run. I think it's case by case. But I felt Edmonton had a run in them. With the coaching change, Dave Tippett fired and Jay Woodcroft taking over. Part of it was the schedule. They played a struggling Islanders team, struggling San Jose team, and now they get Anaheim tonight. Winnable games for the Edmonton Oilers, a chance to really get on a little bit of a streak here. The Kings as well, who they beat the other night. A chance for them to maybe go on a bit of a win streak with the new coach. But I got to admit, guys, I've been impressed. 3-0 they are under the new coach, beating the Islanders, Sharks, and Kings, and the team defense looks nothing like I've seen from the Oilers in the last few years. It's better, it's structured, they're standing up at the blue line. You used to get a free pass to get into the offensive zone against the Edmonton Oilers. They're standing up at the blue line. It's difficult to gain zone entry now. These last 3 games, they've made it more difficult. To get speed through the neutral zone is a lot more difficult now against Edmonton in these 3 games. Their structure, the difference is night and day. The 3 games they've played under Woodcroft before the coaching change. They're a ride-em team for me right now. I'm either betting Edmonton or I'm passing. I am on Edmonton in regulation here. In this game. Now, the price is not the greatest, but you got Anaheim on a back-to-back after losing in Calgary last night in that game. The Edmonton in reg line is minus 140 in regulation for Edmonton. That's the bet for me in this game. And I lean to that under because, look, Jimmy, that was brutal the other night for you with the 6.5 on the under with the Oilers and the Kings. You deserve that to be a win. That was 2 empty net goals in the final minute for Edmonton, turned a 3-2 game into a 5-2 game.
But what we can say though there, we were all right though. They are changing their philosophy and they are applying it better on the ice. They're really committed to that defensive game. So, if they're believing in that and they're focused on it, I'm not afraid to go under again with the Oilers in some games.
Yeah, and I think this could be the night. So I would absolutely lean under, and you're getting 6.5 here as well with this total in terms of the under here in this game. By the way, the goaltending. Mike Smith projected but not confirmed. Stolarz replaced Gibson, who got pulled against Calgary last night in that 6-2 loss. So it's going to be interesting to see if Anaheim goes back to Gibson tonight, or if they give because Stolarz was probably going to start tonight anyway, but he relieved Gibson last night. So we'll see where they go with their goaltending. But I like the Oilers in regulation, -140, and I lean to the under. Danny, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think the Oilers, that -230 is scary. If you can do regulation, I'd like that. At the same time, if I can buy points and get that 6.5 down to 5.5 or 6, I'm going. There's so much power here. I think we're starting to see the real Anaheim Ducks team. They were hot there for a little bit, but I think we're starting to see the real team here these last week or two. And this swing's getting tough for them. And now they got to go to Edmonton. I get scared betting the under against the Ducks and the Oilers. So I'd try to do it the other way. We'll buy some points and bet the over. But I think the safe play is Edmonton in regulation, where if it doesn't happen, you're not getting crushed.
All right. So
yeah.
Lean in Edmonton in regulation, Danny, in this one, and maybe the over. And I'll say this, it was 6-5 in the only regular season meeting earlier this year between Edmonton and Anaheim. It was high scoring. But we'll see if the newfound defensive enlightenment for the Edmonton Oilers changes things. Great quote from Jay Woodcroft saying, "We've asked everybody to up their work rate. We're asking this team to play a certain style, a demanding style. And so far, we've got everybody buying in, and the team is seeing results." So that's right. Work harder. Work harder away from the puck, too. And work harder if you're a depth forward. Too many nights, Danny, and I don't know if you agree with this, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have to do too much, have to carry the team offensively. And to a lesser extent, Hyman as well has had a good year. He has struggled for a bit, but he's starting to get it back. And there's not a lot of depth scoring that sticks out or stands up for Edmonton in a lot of games. But they're starting to get a little more depth scoring. And like I say, their team defense has been so good in these 3 games since the coaching change. And just, Danny, your thoughts overall on coaching changes. Is it case by case? Do you think it's just every team reacts differently? Because I know there's some people that think every coaching change, you got to bet on the team right away that they're going to go on a run. But that doesn't always happen.
No, I think that it depends on the time of the year. If it's early on, I love it. If you're already out of the playoffs, it's tough, right? But a team like Edmonton, where they make a coaching change, was Tippett that bad? No, they had a lot of COVID. They had a lot of things happen. But sometimes when the team is ready for a coach to leave, they're waiting for it to happen. And Edmonton might have been there. And when it happens, all of a sudden they shoot out like a rocket ship. Philly, we all know what's going on in Philly. Montreal, they'll play hard for Martin St. Louis. I just don't know if they're skilled enough to get wins. Where Edmonton is. And that's what scares me, that Edmonton could score 7 goals tonight. That's what scares me. Yeah. But yeah, definitely it's a situation by situation. You got to know what's going on in the locker room in the city when a coach gets switched.
Exactly. It's case by case. Derek King in Chicago, initially a little pop, a little uptick, but it kind of simmered down after that, and it cooled off, after the initial surge that Chicago got. And Andrew Brunette's a great one to bring up for Florida when Joel Quenneville was, basically he had to resign. It was just the way it was based on the situation and everything that was going on with the Kyle Beach thing. But when Andrew Brunette took over, that was a team with big aspirations, big hopes, that was already playing well, Florida Panthers, and they kept going and kept playing well, which goes to your point. Early in the season, team that's in the playoff chase, Stanley Cup chase, and there was that team that just kept on playing well with the coaching change, Florida. So that was another one as well. And the guy was on the staff too, so that certainly helped them out as well. All right, we've reached the final game now of this Thursday card. A big one, 10 games. This is the last one. Vancouver, San Jose. Vancouver -115, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. So I went against San Jose a couple nights ago. Edmonton shut them out 3-0. I'm going to go back against them tonight with Vancouver at -115. I think the Canucks are the better of these two teams. I know it hasn't looked consistent for the Canucks. And the biggest concern, Danny's brought up these great situations. Team that hasn't won 4 in a row in forever, or a team that can't win 3 in a row, very often, like Buffalo. For Vancouver lately, it's been after a win, they haven't been able to follow it up and win the next game. They've gone win-loss, 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 Vancouver, the last few games. That's the concern here, but I think they're better than San Jose. I think the price is cheap. I expect Demko and net. They've been off since Saturday when they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2. And Bruce Boudreau was saying, I'm not going to, criticize our team for getting outshot 52-26. We won the game, and whether it was our goaltending stealing the game, which he did, Demko, he said, we still got the 2 points. That's all that matters. That being said, I think he wants his team to play a little bit better tonight in this game against San Jose, and I think they will. And they're probably going to have Demko in net because they've been off since Saturday. They don't play tomorrow, and Demko has been magnificent. Really, he's been great all year, but especially lately, he's been very good. And I can't say the same thing about the San Jose goaltending. James Reimer has really hit the shits since the Christmas break. He struggled. Aiden Hill, I think, is still nursing an injury. So tough times for the Sharks. Their offense has kind of dried up too in recent games. I think the price is reasonable here, and I'll back Vancouver minus 115 in this game. And by the way, for props, JT Miller, Brock Besser, keep looking at players like that for Vancouver because they are the guys that have really played well for Vancouver since Bruce Boudreau took over behind the bench. Jimmy, what do you think here? Canucks, Sharks?
What I think is I like the Canucks in this as well. I like the way they're playing. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think we're going to see some better hockey from them down the stretch here. Who knows what will happen with JT Miller on the trade market, but Thatcher Demko is in his zone these days. And when they get a goalie like that playing, the team's going to feed off it. So give me the Vancouver Canucks.
Vancouver as well, minus 115 for Jimmy. Danny, what do you think here? Vancouver, San Jose.
I like the over here. Bruce Boudreau is coaching here in Minnesota. Coach Washington. He likes to get his guys to score goals. One thing I will say about San Jose is Edmonton, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Florida. Last 4 games, they finally get a little bit to catch their breath at home. That's why I'm just going over.
All right, we'll see. And the one thing that San Jose apparently did, I don't know if it was a full-on bag skate from Bugner, but they had a very hard practice after the loss to Edmonton on Monday night, 3-0. He said, we practiced harder today than we played yesterday. That's what he said, Bugner, after the practice. So does that inspire a better effort? It might. It probably will. I don't know if it's good enough, though. I think the San Jose team's got issues. They've got a couple. They got LeBanc out as well, who's been a key underrated forward for them. Erik Karlsson's still out. Aiden Hill's out there. 1A, 1B goaltender. And like I said, Reimer's been fighting the puck lately. So I still think Vancouver gets it done. Great stuff with Danny Ehrman as our special guest. You killed it. I said you would kill it, and you did kill it. You were great on the show today. Jimmy Murphy and Andrew McGinnis was with us earlier as well. Great show. Before we wrap it up with best bets to wrap up the show, we do want to mention DraftKings Sportsbook, our great partners here at the Ice Guys and the Hockey Podcast Network. Reminder, there's a great NBA offer, too good to pass up. You can bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Basketball Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL and NBA. Must be 21 years of age or older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right, best bets to wrap up this Thursday show. Jimmy, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Well, I actually never got to tell you what I liked in the Bruins game, did I? So
yeah, I joined us for that game. Yep.
Yeah, but I didn't get my pick. So my pick in that is actually a reverse puck line on the Boston Bruins, if you can still get it. I know it's a pretty even game. It might be leaning more towards the Bruins as a favorite now, but if you still get them as a dog, do the reverse puck line.
All right, there it is for Jimmy. It is the alternative puck line because the Islanders opened the favorite there slightly. So it's definitely alternative puck line. That's plus 265 with the price on that. Boston Bruins minus 1.5, plus 265. Jimmy puck line come into play. Bruins puck line for Jimmy's best bet on this Thursday. Here you go, Danny. First time on the Ice Guys. Your first chance for a best bet.
First of all, thanks for having me. Milwaukee Bucks, 9 in a row over. They're playing the 76ers today. Wow. I think their last 4 games in a row against the 76ers have gone over. Minus 220, or it's 223 is the over. That's my basketball one. I don't get to come on here a lot for my hockey one. I'm going Blues minus 2.5. Let's get crazy here.
There we go. Let's go. You can't argue with that value. And as you've said, the majority of recent St. Louis Blues wins have been by 3 goals or more. So there you go.
Habs, so
yeah, minus 2.5 at a great price there. That's in the plus 160, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Yeah, St. Louis Blues. Danny Puckline. Do you mind giving us giving him that name, Jimmy?
Danny double puck line.
Yeah, there you go. Jimmy Puckline and Danny Puckline. So there you go.
Danny
I'm surrounded
double.
by Puckline puckheads right now. But as I always say, it's better to be a puckhead than a fuckhead. I always say that. It's always better. St. Louis minus 2.5, plus 160 on the price on that. So there you go. Best bet for Danny Ehrman. We thank him for joining us. My best bet is going to be, I'm going to go Capitals Flyers over 6. I think Washington probably gets most of these goals in terms of the total, but I think Philadelphia can chip in. Ilya Samsonov was a lot better against Nashville. Played one of his better games, but can he do it again here? Flyers have at least scored 2 goals in the majority of their games. Washington probably scores the rest, and that game goes over the total. So Washington, Philadelphia over 6 for me for my best bet. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. We thank Danny Ehrman, our special guest, for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. Danny, any last words before we say goodbye?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a blast. Love watching hockey. All I can say is thanks. Go Blues, I guess.
All right, great stuff. And we'll try to bring you back
man.
on the show later this season as well. For Danny Ehrman and Jimmy Murphy and Andrew McGinnis, who was with us earlier, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.